I do remember one specific story that was pretty gnarly. I was staying in the back of I stayed in the back of Pro Circuit parking lot in my motorhome from the time I was around 11 or 12 until I was maybe 14 or 15. Like intermittently, I'd come out there for a few months and stay back there. So I got to know Mitch really well during that time, and really everybody in the shop. And I remember I was in the motorhome. My dad was actually in the shop, and the guys were just, you know, bullshitting around and hanging out. And Mitch said something to my dad like, the motorhome's on fire or something, like playing a joke on him. And Mitch didn't know I was in the motorhome at the time, I guess. This is the story I got. And so my dad played a joke on him back. It was a few weeks later, where like just enough time to where Mitch wouldn't expect it. And it was crazy. He basically, the story was, so the rig was on the way to like an East Coast Supercross event, right? And so we got the truck driver in on it, which was Greg at the time. And basically the story was that the rig was destroyed. Like it got in a crash and everything was totaled, and Mitch was renting U-Haul trucks and stuff already. We got everybody in on it. We got guys like highway patrol officers, like fake highway patrol officers calling Mitch and all this stuff. And yeah, I just remember that one that sticks out the most. Yeah, I think the first time I met Mitch was probably, it was probably at Loretta's. It was probably before I was even racing for him at the time. I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, and at that time I had, you know, developed a strong want to be on this team eventually. You know, I wanted to be riding for Pro Circuit and riding for Mitch, and so I really looked up to Mitch. And of course you always hear the stories that he's super gnarly and, you know, he yells at his riders and all this stuff, but he couldn't have been nicer to me. And yeah, just joking around and having a good time. And I think that really threw me off guard, because I kind of put him in my mind up here as like this possible like bad gnarly guy, but he was so cool. So I think it's a crazy experience meeting him for the first time. Yeah, I think Mitch he really respects people that try hard and really put their heart into it. And I think that's why we've kind of got along so well, and he's done so much for me. Like you said, there was some tough years there where I wasn't really getting a lot of results. I wasn't on the track too much, and I'm pretty conscious of how much money, time, and effort has been put into me ever since amateurs from Mitch and Pro Circuit, and I wasn't giving them that back, you know. And he never made me feel like I was running on borrowed time. You know, he always had my back with anybody, you know, talking about potentially, you know, riding for him farther along in the future. And he just always wanted what was best for me and always had my best interest at heart. And that's really tough to find. You know, normally you can kind of only count on family for that. And Mitch is my family in that sense. I think he, you know, genuinely had my best interest at heart always, and still does. And I still feel like family with him, even though I'm not riding for the team anymore. Yeah, I think Mitch's whole story is unique. You know, kind of from his accident when he was younger to building the Pro Circuit empire, kind of coming from that super down point in his life. You know, he never let that get to him. He ultimately built Pro Circuit into the winningest, you know, race team there is in the sport, and just that alone is just a crazy impact on the sport he's had. And if you talk to 99% of the kids today that are growing up, this is where they want to be, and I think that says more about Mitch and than anything could. You know, he runs a tight ship, and beyond that, he really cares for his riders, really wants everybody to succeed and to have a good time, and he knows how to get it done. So I think it's just his legacy expands far and wide.